Marcus Stone stared through the force field of his cell at the purple-skinned guard, who kept glancing nervously in his direction. Even after 3 days in custody, the alien security forces still acted as if he might somehow break through the strongest containment field in the galactic hub. He almost smiled at their fear. It was the same fear that had brought him here in the first place. The charges were simple: illegal settlement of a Class X Deathworld and willful endangerment of galactic citizens. What the Council couldn't understand was how he and his colonists had survived it all. The door to the detention block slid open with a soft hiss. 2 tall, blue-robed figures entered, Council enforcers, their silver badges gleaming under the harsh lights. "The tribunal is ready," one announced, voice translated through the standard communication device. "Stand away from the barrier." Marcus did as instructed, watching as they deactivated the force field. He could have told them that the 3 additional guards they'd posted weren't necessary. He had no intention of running. As they led him through the massive corridors of the galactic hub, other aliens stopped to stare. Some had multiple eyes, others had none at all, but they all shared the same expression of curiosity mixed with fear. Humans were still relatively new to the galactic community, and most species found them unsettling. "You realize the severity of your crimes?" the taller enforcer asked as they approached the Grand Chamber. "Settlement of a Class X world is forbidden for good reason. Planet DR-249 has claimed the lives of over 30 exploration teams." "I'm well aware of the planet's history," Marcus replied calmly. "I'm also aware that 500 humans have been living there successfully for the past 3 years." The enforcer's translator crackled with static, a sign of emotional distress. "Impossible. The atmosphere alone should have killed you within days. The predators are manageable once you understand their patterns," Marcus interrupted. "Just like the acid rain, the toxic spores, and the earthquake swarms. Everything has a pattern, if you look hard enough." They stopped before a set of towering doors covered in ancient symbols. Marcus recognized the writing system. It dated back to the founding of the Galactic Council, over 50,000 years ago. Humanity had been exploring their own solar system for less than a century when they were discovered and invited to join. The doors swung open silently, revealing the circular chamber beyond. Hundreds of representatives from across the galaxy sat in rising tiers, their different forms and colors creating a living tapestry. At the center stood a single platform where Marcus would make his case. "Marcus Stone of Earth," a booming voice announced, "you stand accused of violating Security Protocol 742, Settlement Restriction Code 89, and Environmental Protection Act 1147. These actions have put countless lives at risk and undermined the authority of the Galactic Council." Marcus stepped onto the platform, feeling the weight of thousands of alien eyes upon him. The Chief Justice, a beam of pure energy contained within a crystalline form, floated down to his level. "Before we proceed," the Justice's voice echoed through the chamber, "I must ask, what possessed you to attempt settlement of DR-249? The planet has been designated as uninhabitable by our finest experts. The atmospheric composition alone should have been fatal." Marcus looked up at the assembled council, his voice clear and steady. "With respect, Your Honor, humanity has a saying. Experts built the Titanic, but amateurs built the Ark." A murmur ran through the chamber as the translation reached each species. The Chief Justice's crystalline form pulsed with colors that suggested confusion and irritation. "You speak in riddles, human. The records show that your unauthorized colony has survived for 3 years on a world that has killed every other attempt at settlement. Explain how this is possible." Marcus smiled slightly. "That's simple, Your Honor. You've been sending the wrong species. DR-249 isn't a death world. It's just like Earth." The chamber erupted in chaos as the implications of his words sank in. Humanity's homeworld, the Council realized, might be just as deadly as the planet they had condemned. and that changed everything. The council's chief prosecutor, Ambassador Reed, moved like flowing mercury across the chamber floor. His metallic body caught the light from the massive crystal windows above, creating rainbow patterns that danced across the walls. He had prosecuted over 3,000 cases for the council and never lost one. Honorable members of the council, Reed's voice resonated through the chamber. Let me show you exactly what planet DR-249 truly is. A massive hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a world of deep reds and angry purples, with storm systems that covered entire continents. Lightning flashed constantly through clouds of toxic green. The atmosphere contains levels of sulfuric acid that can dissolve standard environment suits in under an hour, Reed continued. The average surface temperature fluctuates between burning hot and freezing cold, often within the same day. Marcus watched as the council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. He noticed how some of the more sensitive species had already activated their emotional dampeners. The hologram changed to show footage from previous expedition attempts. A research team's base dissolving under acid rain. A survey vehicle being torn apart by creatures that looked like a cross between Earth's tigers and bulldozers. A rescue mission failing as the ground literally swallowed their ships. 47 different species have attempted to study or settle DR-249, Reed stated. 218 deaths. Billions in lost equipment. And yet, he turned to face Marcus. We find a human colony not just surviving, but thriving. The hologram shifted again, showing aerial views of the human settlement. Dome structures stood strong against the harsh winds. Fields of strange plants grew in protected valleys. Children, human children, played in what looked like a reinforced playground. The defendant didn't just violate our laws. Reed's voice grew harder. He deliberately hid this illegal colony for 3 years, used banned terraforming techniques, released Earth organisms into an alien ecosystem, and worst of all, he put children at risk. Marcus felt the growing hostility in the room. He had expected this. Fear often turned to anger when people didn't understand something. I call our first witness, Reed announced. Dr. Light, chief xenobiologist of the Council's Science Division. A tall, thin alien floated to the witness platform. Its transparent body showed complex organs pulsing with bioluminescent fluid. Doctor, Reed began, please explain why DR-249 was classified as a Class X Deathworld. The planet defies all normal parameters for life. Light's voice chimed like crystal bells. The predators show impossible levels of aggression. The plants produce toxins that can kill most species with a single touch. Even the bacteria in the soil can eat through most metals. And yet the humans built with metal, Reed pointed out. Impossible. Light's body flashed with colors of distress. Our most advanced alloys couldn't withstand. If I may, Marcus interrupted, standing. We didn't use your alloys. We used simple steel, treated with bacteria from Earth's own acid mines. Nature already solved these problems for us millions of years ago. The council chamber went silent. Reed's metallic form rippled with what might have been anger. You're not helping your case, Mr. Stone, the Chief Justice warned. Introducing Earth organisms into an environment almost exactly like the ones they evolved in, Marcus finished. We didn't change DR-249. We just showed that it wasn't as hostile as you thought. Reed moved closer to Marcus's platform. Tell me, Mr. Stone, how many colonists died while you were proving your point? Marcus met the prosecutor's gaze steadily. None. The word hung in the air like a challenge. Even Reed seemed taken aback. Impossible, Dr. Light whispered, but there was doubt in their chiming voice now. The prosecution requests a recess, Reed announced suddenly. We need to verify these claims. The Chief Justice's crystal form pulsed with agreement. Granted, we will reconvene tomorrow, and Mr. Stone, they added, we will want a full explanation of how exactly your colony managed 0 casualties on a world that has killed every other visitor. Marcus nodded as the guards led him away. Tomorrow, he would show them exactly what humanity was capable of. And maybe, just maybe, they would finally understand why Earth had prepared humans so well for the challenges of DR-249. The council chamber felt different on the second day. Marcus noticed how the aliens leaned forward in their seats, their earlier fear giving way to curiosity. He stood on the central platform, ready to present his defense. The prosecution has shown you why DR-249 should be impossible to colonize. Marcus began, his voice steady. Now let me show you why they're wrong. He activated his own hologram display. The image showed a familiar sight to any human, a classroom. But this classroom was on DR-249, with thick windows that showed the purple-red sky outside. This is what the prosecution calls reckless endangerment of children, Marcus said. I call it the next generation of human adaptation. These children have never known any other home. The hologram zoomed in on the windows. The acid rain. We harvested. Those same acids that eat through your environmental suits. We use them to power our generators. The energy output is 4 times more efficient than standard fusion. Ambassador Reed interrupted, his metallic form shifting. You're admitting to using prohibited technology. No, Marcus corrected. We're using simple chemical reactions that any high school student on Earth would understand. The same reactions that happen in our own stomachs, just on a larger scale. The hologram changed to show the colony's agricultural domes. Those deadly native plants. Turns out they're extremely nutritious once you remove the outer toxins, a process, I might add, that we learned from studying Earth's cassava farmers. A murmur ran through the chamber. The Chief Justice's crystalline form pulsed with interest. Explain this cassava. It's a plant from Earth that can kill you if prepared incorrectly, Marcus explained. Humans learned to make it safe thousands of years ago. Just like we learned to make cheese from spoiled milk or medicine from mold. What you see as deadly, we see as opportunity. The display shifted to show the colony's defensive walls. Those predators your teams couldn't handle. We studied them, learned their habits, found out they're actually quite predictable. They hunt using heat signatures, just like snakes on Earth. Once we understood that, protection was simple. Dr. Light floated forward. But the atmospheric pressure alone is only twice Earth's sea level, Marcus interrupted. We have cities on Earth where people live at higher pressures. Your studies called it crushing. We call it Tuesday in Amsterdam. The chamber erupted in discussions as translation systems worked overtime. Marcus waited patiently until the Chief Justice restored order. You keep referring to Earth, Reed noted. Are you suggesting your homeworld is as dangerous as DR-249? Marcus smiled. Parts of it are worse. We have deserts hot enough to cook food on the ground. Oceans that can freeze a person in minutes. Winds that can lift houses. Animals that can kill with a single touch. Mountains that can kill you just by being too tall. He paused, looking around the chamber. But we didn't just survive these things. We learned from them. Every challenge on DR-249 had an answer in Earth's history. We didn't need to invent new solutions. We just needed to remember our old ones. The hologram showed final images. Children playing in protective suits designed to look like colorful animals. Farmers tending fields while wearing simple filtered masks. Engineers maintaining equipment with tools that looked surprisingly basic. The prosecution says we broke the law, Marcus concluded. I say we proved the law was based on a lack of understanding. DR-249 isn't a death sentence. It's a second Earth. And we're not endangering anyone. We're doing what humans have always done. Adapting, surviving, and turning challenges into opportunities. The chamber fell silent. Even Reed seemed at a loss for words. The Chief Justice's crystalline form pulsed with colors Marcus had never seen before. And, interesting perspective, the Chief Justice finally said, but it still doesn't explain how you achieved in 3 years what other species couldn't accomplish in centuries. Marcus's smile widened slightly. That's because you're still thinking like the prosecution. You're so focused on why it should be impossible, you haven't asked the most important question. What else are humans capable of? The council's medical team arrived in their traditional white robes, pushing floating devices that hummed softly. Marcus watched as they set up their equipment around the chamber. After his defense, the Chief Justice had ordered immediate testing of the human colonists. Impossible, the head medical officer muttered, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly as he studied the results. Simply impossible. The chamber waited in tense silence as more data flowed across the giant screens. Images of human DNA appeared, alongside complex chemical analyses and biological readings from the colony's children. Report your findings, the Chief Justice commanded. The medical officer's scales changed from green to blue, a sign of extreme agitation. The colonists, they're adapting. Not just surviving, but actually changing at a genetic level. New images appeared on the screens. Side-by-side comparisons showed subtle but significant differences between the colonists' DNA and standard human genetic patterns. Their bones are becoming denser to handle the gravity, the officer explained. Their blood is developing new properties to filter the atmospheric toxins. And the children. He paused, his voice filled with disbelief. The children born on DR-249 show even more advanced adaptations. Marcus nodded calmly. We noticed the changes about 6 months after settlement. It's not the first time humans have adapted to extreme conditions. Look up the people living in Earth's high mountains or deep-sea communities. Ambassador Reed stepped forward, his metallic form rippling with concern. You knew this would happen. You deliberately exposed your people to conditions that would alter their very genetics. We didn't need to expose them to anything, Marcus replied. This is what humans do. We adapt. It's our greatest strength. Earth threw everything it had at us for millions of years, and each challenge made us stronger. The medical officer displayed more data. The children's lung capacity is 15% greater than standard human norm. Their skin produces natural compounds that resist the acidic atmosphere. Their eyes have developed additional protection against the intense UV radiation. And they're all healthy. The Chief Justice asked. Healthier than average, according to human medical standards, the officer confirmed. Their immune systems are remarkably robust. They're developing natural resistances that our best medical technology can't replicate. The chamber erupted in excited discussions. Species that had evolved in stable, controlled environments struggled to understand a life form that could change so rapidly. This goes beyond simple adaptation, Dr. Light observed, floating closer to examine the data. Your bodies aren't just surviving the environment. They're embracing it, using it. The very things that should kill you are making you stronger. Marcus smiled. On Earth, we have a practice called vaccination. We use small amounts of dangerous things to build immunity. Our entire history has been one long vaccination against hostile environments. The Chief Justice's crystalline form pulsed with deep colors. And you believe these adaptations will continue? We're counting on it, Marcus replied. In a few generations, the colonists might be better suited to DR-249 than Earth, just like how some humans are better suited to high altitudes or extreme cold. But the risks, Reed began, are nothing compared to what humanity faced in its early days, Marcus interrupted. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us daily. Predators, diseases, natural disasters. Earth taught us that adaptation isn't just about survival. It's about turning hostile environments into homes. The medical officer added one final piece of data to the screens. According to these projections, by the 5th generation, these adaptations will be fully integrated into their genetic code. They'll be a new subspecies of human, perfectly suited to DR-249's conditions. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. They weren't just judging a case of illegal settlement anymore. They were witnessing the birth of something new, a demonstration of humanity's most remarkable ability. The Chief Justice spoke softly, their words carrying clearly through the quiet chamber. I believe we need to completely reassess our understanding of human capabilities, and perhaps our definition of what constitutes a death world. Marcus stood quietly, watching the dawning realization spread through the chamber. The real trial was just beginning, not of his actions, but of the council's assumptions about what was possible. The third day of the trial brought a new kind of witness to the council chamber. Marcus watched as survivors from failed colonization attempts came forward to tell their stories. Each one had tried to settle DR 249, and each one had barely escaped with their lives. The first witness was Captain Bright, his crystalline body still showing cracks from his encounter with the planet's storms. "We lost 3 ships trying to establish a landing zone," he testified. "The acid clouds ate through our best shielding in minutes. And how did your human colonists handle these storms?" the Chief Justice asked Marcus. "We learned to predict them using patterns in the planet's magnetic field," Marcus explained. "Just like tornado chasers do on Earth. When we couldn't avoid them, we used them. The acid rain feeds directly into our power systems." The next witness, Commander Vale, floated forward on anti-gravity supports. Her species' tentacles showed burn marks that hadn't healed even after years. "The native predators hunted my entire security team. We had the best weapons in the galaxy, but nothing stopped them." Marcus nodded respectfully to her injuries. "We studied similar predators on Earth: lions, bears, sharks. We learned that the best defense isn't better weapons. It's understanding their behavior. Once we knew their hunting patterns, we could avoid conflict entirely." One by one, the survivors shared their stories. Each failure seemed impossible to overcome, yet Marcus calmly explained how the human colonists had found solutions using lessons from Earth. Then came the most surprising witness. "I am Builder," announced a massive being composed of living metal. "My people tried to establish a mining operation on DR 249 50 years ago. The planet's magnetic fields destroyed our machinery. The soil corrupted our structures. We lost billions in equipment." The chamber grew still. The Builders were legendary for their engineering skills. If they couldn't survive on DR 249, how did your colony manage construction? Builder asked Marcus directly. "Our scans show your buildings still standing after 3 years." Marcus walked to the hologram display. "We didn't fight the planet's conditions. We worked with them. Look at our main structures." The image showed buildings with curved walls and flexible joints. The design comes from studying trees in Earth's hurricane zones. They bend with the forces instead of resisting them. And the magnetic interference. We use it to power our communication network. The same fields that disrupted your equipment carry our signals across the planet's surface. We copied the technique from Earth's migratory birds. Builder's metallic form shifted in what might have been surprise. "You based advanced engineering principles on birds." "Nature spent billions of years solving these problems," Marcus replied. "Humans learned long ago that sometimes the best technology isn't the newest, it's the most tested." The final witness was Dr. Light again. But this time they spoke not as a prosecutor's witness, but as a scientist. "After studying the colony's data, I must admit something remarkable. The humans aren't just surviving on DR 249. They're recreating the same process that made them adaptable in the first place." "Explain," the Chief Justice commanded. "Earth itself was once what we would call a death world," Light continued. "The conditions that shaped human evolution were remarkably similar to DR 249. They're not adapting to a new environment. They're returning to the kind of world that created them." The chamber erupted in discussion. Marcus stood quietly, watching understanding dawn on faces and forms across the room. Even Ambassador Reed's metallic surface showed ripples of consideration. "So," the Chief Justice's voice cut through the noise, "you're suggesting that what we call a death world is simply a human's natural environment?" "Not exactly," Marcus answered. "We're suggesting that there's no such thing as a death world. There are only worlds we haven't learned to understand yet. And humans are very good at understanding difficult places. The chamber fell silent as his words sank in. The implications went far beyond one colony or one trial. Every dangerous, impossible, deadly world in the galaxy suddenly looked different through human eyes. And the Council knew their verdict would have to reflect this new reality. The Council chamber had emptied except for the highest-ranking members. Marcus waited in a holding room nearby, watching through a transparent wall as the most powerful beings in the galaxy argued about the future of humanity. The Chief Justice's crystal form glowed with intense colors as they addressed the inner circle. We face an unprecedented situation. What we thought was a simple case of illegal settlement has become something far more significant. Ambassador Reed's metallic form shifted uneasily. The laws are clear. Settlement of Class X worlds is forbidden. Laws can change, interrupted Counselor Wise, her energy form pulsing with determination. They must change when new information proves them outdated. The hologram in the center of the chamber showed Earth spinning slowly. Next to it floated an image of DR 249. The similarities were striking when viewed side by side. Look at the human homeworld, Counselor Wise continued. By our original standards, Earth itself should be classified as a death world. Extreme temperature variations, constant natural disasters, aggressive predators, toxic plants. And yet they thrived there, Builder added, their metallic voice resonating through the chamber. Not just survived, they built civilizations. They turned hostile conditions into advantages. Dr. Light floated forward, their transparent form glowing with excitement. The scientific implications are staggering. Humans don't just adapt, they pass these adaptations to their children. They can potentially colonize worlds we thought would be forever uninhabitable. Which makes them dangerous, Reed argued. A species that can survive anywhere, adapt to anything. Makes them invaluable, the Chief Justice corrected. Think of the worlds we've abandoned. The resources we've written off as unreachable. The colonies we've lost to harsh conditions. The chamber filled with murmurs as the council members considered the possibilities. Marcus noticed how their fear from the first day had transformed into something else, hope mixed with caution. There's another factor to consider, Builder announced. The human approach to technology. They don't just rely on advanced solutions. They learn from their environment, find simple answers to complex problems. This perspective could be revolutionary. The Chief Justice turned to address the full council. We must decide not just the fate of one colony, but our entire approach to human integration into galactic society. Are they criminals to be punished, or pioneers who can teach us new ways to explore our galaxy? They broke our laws, Reed insisted, but his voice carried less conviction now. Perhaps, Counselor Wise replied, but they also proved our laws were based on incomplete understanding. Can we punish them for being more capable than we expected? The debate continued for hours. Marcus watched as the council members reviewed evidence, studied reports from the colony, and examined the medical data about human adaptation. Each new piece of information seemed to push them further from their original position. Finally, the Chief Justice called for order. Before we make our final decision, there's one more thing to consider. The children of DR 249 are growing up in what we called impossible conditions. They're proving that humanity's potential for adaptation goes beyond anything we imagined. Can we ignore this potential? Should we? The chamber fell silent. Even Reed seemed to be considering this new perspective. All our laws about death worlds, Builder mused, were made to protect life. But what if for humans, these worlds aren't threats but opportunities? What if our protection is actually limiting the growth of a species uniquely suited to overcome these challenges? The Chief Justice's form pulsed with decisive colors. Then we must reconvene tomorrow and render a verdict that reflects this new understanding. One that considers not just the laws that were broken, but the possibilities that were revealed. As the council members filed out, Marcus caught fragments of their discussions. Words like reclassification and special status floated through the air. He smiled slightly, knowing that tomorrow's verdict would be about much more than his colony's fate. The galaxy was about to change its view of what was possible, and humanity would lead the way. The final day of the trial drew the largest audience in Council history. Species from across the galaxy crowded the chamber, their varied forms filling every available space. The air hummed with translation devices as everyone waited for the verdict that would reshape galactic law. Marcus stood on the central platform one last time. He had switched from his prison clothes to his colony work uniform. Tough, practical gear designed for DR-249's harsh conditions. The choice was deliberate. Whatever the verdict, he wanted the council to see him as he truly was. Not a criminal, but a pioneer. The Chief Justice's crystalline form rose above the chamber, glowing with formal colors. After extensive deliberation, this council has reached several conclusions. The chamber fell silent. First, the Chief Justice began, regarding the charges of illegal settlement and endangerment of galactic citizens. These charges are, they paused for effect, dismissed. A wave of murmurs swept through the crowd. Ambassador Reed's metallic form rippled with surprise. We cannot punish someone for proving our assumptions wrong, the Chief Justice continued. The human colony on DR-249 has not just survived, it has thrived. In doing so, it has demonstrated that our classification of Deathworlds requires complete revision. The hologram display activated, showing the colony's latest images. Children playing, crops growing, buildings standing strong against the harsh environment. Second, this council hereby creates a new division, the Deathworld Colonization Initiative. Marcus Stone, you will head this division, sharing human adaptation techniques with the galaxy. Your experience and perspective will be crucial in opening new worlds for exploration and settlement. Marcus nodded solemnly, but inside he felt a surge of pride. This was more than just a victory. It was an opportunity to show what humanity could really do. Third, the Chief Justice's voice grew more formal. We are officially reclassifying humanity's status in the galactic community. You are no longer simply members. You are designated as Advanced Adaptation Specialists. Your unique capabilities make you essential to our future expansion. Dr. Light floated forward. The Medical Council has confirmed that human adaptability is not just physical, but extends to problem-solving and technological innovation. Their approach to hostile environments could revolutionize how we explore the galaxy. Builder added their voice. The Engineering Council agrees. Human methods of working with environmental challenges rather than against them show remarkable efficiency. We have much to learn from their perspective. The Chief Justice raised their crystalline form higher. Finally, we address the broader implications of this case. The Council hereby recognizes that what we call a death world may simply be a world we don't yet understand. Humanity has shown us that with the right approach, even the most hostile environment can become a home. Marcus stepped forward. If I may speak. The Chief Justice nodded. This verdict isn't just about one colony or one planet, Marcus said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. It's about potential. Every world out there, no matter how harsh, has something to teach us. Humans didn't become adaptable because we were special. We became adaptable because we had to. Because Earth taught us that survival isn't about being the strongest or having the best technology. It's about learning, changing, and working with what you have. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes, sensors, and other sensory organs of the assembled species. We're not here to take over your dangerous worlds. We're here to help you see them differently. Because every death world is just a world we haven't understood yet. And understanding, that's what humans do best. The chamber erupted in approval. Species that had once feared humans now saw them as teachers, guides into worlds they had thought forever closed to them. As Marcus left the chamber, he smiled at the irony. He had come here facing a death sentence. Instead, he had helped give life to a whole new era of galactic exploration. And somewhere on DR-249, Human children were growing up on a world that the galaxy had called impossible, proving with every breath that the only real limits were the ones you accepted. The age of the Deathworld explorers had begun.